In one of the most exciting tests of mettle yet, North American favorites Korean Titans T1. In a matchup like this, it's always very hard to gain much ground, especially when playing against players that are as clean as everybody on this T1 roster. This means that you have to try even harder to gain any potential advantage that you can go for, and draft is a great opportunity for players like C9 to get creative and to play it to their own ground. Although they weren't necessarily successful in this match, I think it's good on Cloud9 to be cognizant of their situation in this case, and I respect their ability to innovate and try out new dynamics in draft. And as always, if you enjoyed this content, would love a sub for more like this. Let's hop into draft. To kick things off in bans, C9 are on blue side this game, and ban out Caitlyn, Fiora, and Graves, whereas T1 end up banning Maokai, Sejuani, and Yuumi. It seems that their draft philosophy this Worlds has been holding steady now, as they continue to ban out both Maokai and Sejuani in their drafts. My guess for this is that they really don't enjoy playing around the game pace that either of these champions bring to the table, as teamfights become much slower and these champions can neutralize both a lot of drafts and a lot of matchups in the early game. They also opt for the Yuumi ban third. What this also means is that they're willing to allow Aatrox to slip through the bans, giving a chance for C9 to basically snatch that up. Surprisingly enough, C9 actually swing for the Azir as their opener. This means that in the R1-R2, T1 take it away immediately, as well as the Viego. This is definitely an interesting choice by C9 to have such a high priority on Azir, but the logic actually checks out in my eyes. As each day in groups passes, we've been seeing time and time again that the power this champion brings to the table. With an extremely favorable matchup curve in today's meta, securing a strong early and late game, and the ability to have high functionality in most team compositions, it's honestly no wonder that he's been increasing in priority so much. Aatrox is also another pretty powerhouse pick in the meta right now, however, and I'm sure C9 are aware of this. They thought about a couple picks available, but eventually swing for the Jax matchup. The main thought I have with this is that although it's being used as a counter pick, I'd actually say that Aatrox still has a lot of agency in this matchup, especially in the early phases of the game. C9 were also thinking about the Nard to play into Aatrox here, and I believe based on the playstyles of both players, as well as the fact that it plays more flexibly into Azir, I personally would have opted for the Nard pick. In addition, C9 take Poppy for the combo with Azir. Poppy has also seen a rise of priority in some of these drafts, especially when paired with Azir. It adds up to this pretty unbreakable ball of stats in teamfighting prowess, as the Azir has incredible DPS and teamfighting presence when given the chance, and the Poppy basically is one of the last neutralizing jungle picks available that can help create space for the Azir to thrive. For R3, T1 opted to take one of the picks that can respond into Azir with Lissandra. From this point in the draft, let's take a look at what both comps are looking to do, and then from there break down from what decisions I'm looking to see from both teams. We're in a meta where comps are actually very sensitive to any pivots that teams do, so it's very important to keep your comp open to flexibility and to be able to adapt your picks to what the enemy team is trying to do at a high level. In this case, while they're slightly flexible, C9 overall wants to play for a strong front-to-back scenario with 4 members while allowing Jax to thrive in side lane, while T1 are pretty much prepped for strong team fighting but focused on taking more space away from C9 instead. With this in mind, I would like to see T1 ban out defensive picks that can contribute to C9's capability to play to this front-to-back condition, while C9 should be banning forward picks as well as consider the fact of overall high-value picks, especially on R4. The main thing I'm looking for C9 should be an Aphelios ban plus one other champion in this case. The bans somewhat reflect this, as T1 remove both Renata and Tahm Kench, which are two of the best defensive champions for protecting priority targets and AD carries, which enables them to play more forward. On the other hand, C9 get rid of offensive supports in both Nautilus and Thresh. This actually equates to the support pool getting hit tremendously, as all of a sudden we have lost 4 primary support picks. For the R4 here, T1 show their cards a bit and swing for the Kai'Sa. At this point, C9 has to confirm about the nature of T1's composition. They must play for backline dive and destroy priority targets in fights. Because of this, it's very important to pick a bot lane combo that can severely hinder what T1 wants to do. I think ideally here, the best pick to go for is to lock Aphelios Braum in the B4-B5. Against comps that you know are going to play forward into you, both these champs are effectively best in slot when it comes to handling a comp like this one that T1 has. They instead opt for Tristana Leona as their bot lane combo, which is good on paper when it comes to the bot lane matchup itself, but I think when it comes to establishing the win conditions and the interactions of the bot lanes across each other, there is much more room for a lane like Aphelios Braum to succeed. It also plays extremely well into the rest of C9's comp, and it would have made for a cohesive set of tools to deal with what T1 wants to do. There is no room for change on T1's comp as R5 as well, as it's simply very suboptimal to pick anything other than an engaged champion to pair with Kai'Sa. I consider this the biggest blunder by far in C9's draft as well. For the R5, T1 round out with Alistar, and this completes the draft. Overall, I don't actually think that T1 really drafted anything exceptional at all. Honestly, they actually left themselves open to some manipulation by C9 in draft, and although they had a decent start, they did not really get any advantage in the end. And because of their inability to punish, I rate this draft at 65-35 in favor of T1. As always though, hopefully this draft was insightful to you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay fresh.